Yo, boss just straight up hijacked my stream, man. I know it's muted. Boss wants he's taking over the stream today, man. Come on. Get out. Don't you know we gotta talk about Concord again? Don't you know? Getting Come on, dude. Out. Alright. I'm just gonna sit on you then. Alright? Hope that's cool, bro. That's what I thought. Welcome. Welcome back to the stream. Everybody's like, bro, the hell kind of intro is that? Well, I was originally, I was trying to plan that out, but yeah, Boss is having a rough week. I was trying to get Boss in the chair and to get him to like sit up and stare at the camera and just make it look like he started the stream. And YouTube does this thing when you start your stream, there's like a 30-second, I guess, delay. So Boss was sitting there for like a good 30 seconds, just looking right at the camera. But by the time it actually, I guess, went through and officially went live, he started loafing and you couldn't see him. I was thinking about throwing Luna on him. Luna walked into the room, and she was surprised to see that Boss was just chilling in the chair. So I was about to like pick her up and just drop her on him. Traumatized Boss. Yeah. But yeah, welcome back to the stream, guys. Hope you're doing well today. I gotta let you guys know right up front. This might be a really short stream. I'm not sure. My throat's pretty sore. I don't know why. So I don't know how long I can talk until it just gives out. So we'll do what we can here today, okay? Cypherpunk says Concord is the game of the generation. So excited. Yes, we are talking about Concord today because I came across something that I find it highly disturbing. Well, Luna's here too. Thank you, War versus World. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like feel sick. It's just my throat. My throat's just like really sore for one reason or another. But I agree, Gaming Survivor. Boycott Activision says, bro, tell me the news so I can leave. Now I'm not going to tell you. Boycott Activision. Why? Now that I know you're going to leave if I tell you, now I'm just going to keep you. I'm going to keep you here. I'm going to string you along. I'm just kidding. It's okay. We are going to go into it. You know, to be fair, Boycott Activision, normally you'd probably still be looking at the intro screen right now. But yeah, I do want to let you guys know what's going on here. There seems to be some level of indication potentially that Sony is planning to bring Concord back. And man, Sony, don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't be that stupid. There's no way you could be that stupid. Shems, I have Concord physical for future investment. Shems is waiting, bro. He's like, I know it's coming back. But check this out. So I was scrolling through the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, and I came across a post. It was posted 1 hour ago. Rumor, Concord is still being updated on Steam and might go free to play. And the source is actually PlayStation Lifestyle. It says Sony has been updating Concord game files on Steam's backend, leading to speculations that it's preparing for the game's return as a free-to-play title. Although this seems like the next logical step, analysts and industry professionals have expressed doubts that free-to-play will save the doomed multiplayer shooter. Screenshots of Concord's Steam database taken from SteamDB are being shared on Reddit, showing activity as recent as October 8th. While we can't decipher the changelog, gamers are convinced that Firewalk Studios is gearing up for a free-to-play release. Having reportedly sunk millions into Concord, Sony doesn't really have a lot of options to salvage the game, if that is even possible at this point. It doesn't sound wise to spend more money on revamping a project that has been so thoroughly rejected by players that even its open beta saw abysmal numbers. So, yes, this is something that was briefly mentioned yesterday, but now it's beginning to kind of gain some traction. People are beginning to notice that Sony is apparently updating Concord on Steam's back end. And I really want to believe that this doesn't actually mean anything and that we're just looking too much into it. But, you know, it's not a good sign, man. I'm not going to lie. It's not a good sign. I think Sony would have to be damn near brain dead. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they'd have to be damn near brain dead to actually think, yeah, Capono, you're not, yeah, this is like my worst nightmare. Like, dude, I'm going to lose it, bro. I'm going to fucking snap. Sony's trying to break me, and they're getting pretty close. Because it's like, whatever, bro, you got to put Concord out there because you got to think to yourself, you know what? We put this much money into it. We got to just try. We got to forge ahead and just see what happens. And it's like, fine, take it all the way. Take it all the way, but these are the results. The results are nobody cares. Nobody wants it. It should have died a long time ago. This thing should have been canceled. This thing should have probably never been made. And the idea that they would go through what, like, let's just face it. I'm just going to be brutally honest here, man. Like, Concord is possibly one of the biggest embarrassments ever in gaming. You know, it's one of the biggest embarrassments ever. And if Sony actually goes through with trying to bring this game back, I'm going to lose something, man. Because when they decided to pull it from the stores and shut the servers down, I kind of thought to myself, like, all right, well, at least they get the message now, right? At least they got the message now that, you know, you should have just canceled this a while ago. At least they got that message and they did the right thing. They just basically pretended like it never happened. And it's like, okay, we can all move on now. But if they were to actually come out here and try to do like a free-to-play thing, oh, man. Oh, my God. Please, God, no. No. I mean, dude, if so, I'm telling you, man, if Sony does it, they're gonna break me. Geronimo, you're saying I'm so confused. How's that a bad thing? It's because, dude, the message had, like, I'll tell you why. Because you're right. I didn't really explain why it would be such a bad thing. But let me explain to you why it would be, in my opinion, truly just, I don't even know if I want to say, I don't know if devastating is the right word, but it would be so bad if Sony actually went through with trying to bring Concord back, because it tells you something very important about the leadership at PlayStation and the leadership at Sony. And what it would tell you is that, holy shit, they don't get it. Like, even after what just occurred with Concord, which should have never happened in the first place, they actually still don't get it. They still haven't received the message. And it's going to cause me to just, like, give up on them, because I get it to a degree where it's like you're in your own bubble. You don't understand that the product you've been rallying behind and the product that you've dumped so much money into, you refuse to hear anything bad about it. and you're kind of in your own bubble. But then the day of reckoning comes. The day of reckoning is you have to release it. You have to put it out to the public, and you release it. And it's one of the biggest flops ever. You know, it's one of the biggest flops ever. It's one of the most embarrassing things ever. And it's so bad that Sony's like, oh, okay, you know what? Just cancel it. Just shut it down. Shut it all down. And you think at that point, it's like, oh, they get it. Like it took too long. It shouldn't have had to go this far, but they got it. Like they finally got the message that this ain't it. And so if they do come back and try it again, it just tells me that, man, they don't get it. Like they don't understand. Like, dude, nobody fucking wants this. You killed it. Like you killed it once, and now you're trying to well, I'm not saying they're going to, but if they were to bring it back, it's like now you're going to try to revive it. I don't think so. Sony, we don't like this game. Sony, you're going to play it, or I'm going to make you play it. I just can't believe this is even a thing that I'm coming across, man. Like, I'm not going to lie. I thought that the last time we would really hear from Concord was when they I see a lot of people asking what's going on. So let me just give you a little refresher because I know more people are filing in. Basically, players have discovered that Concord is still being updated on Steam's backend. And because of this, it seems like people are pretty much concluding that because the game's still being updated on the back end, it's going to be coming back. And it seems likely Sony's going to try to make it free to play. And dude, I will tell you, man, if Sony does that, I'm going to be going on a crusade, bro. You remember the way I used to be towards Xbox? I'm about to be like, I'm going to become that way towards PlayStation if they actually do this shit. If they actually have the audacity to come out here and try to look us in the eye and say, we're bringing Concord back. So dramatic. It has to be. It has to be dramatic because it's like, it was already dramatic. What? I'm done. I'm done. It's going to be my Joker moment, man. Saying you can just ignore the effing game. Well, I don't know. Because, like, again, the whole thing to me here is like, I can understand and I can rationalize why Sony thought we need to just put this shit out there. We got to put it out there. We're going to try to make money. And then they make no money and they're like, okay, we didn't make any money. But, here's another question, right? Like, if you are Sony right now and you're thinking we're going to re-release it free to play, if the goal, right? Like, because you have to keep in mind, the goal is we need to make some money. So you couldn't make any money selling the game. But how exactly would they plan to make money by putting it free to play? I mean, obviously it would have to be through some kind of microtransactions, but literally one of the biggest talking points behind Concord was how even from a cosmetic standpoint, from a visual standpoint, people were basically laughing at these costumes and laughing at these characters. So it's like, I don't like even going free to play doesn't make any sense to me because it's like nobody's going to spend money on this thing. Like nobody's going to do that. So if Sony were to try to re-release Concord and they were to do it free to play, what concerns me about that is what, like, it would just basically scramble my brain because like, who is in charge who is making these decisions? And it's like, at what point do they get fired and replaced with somebody who understands, like, from a, I don't know, just a simple, like, from a fundamental level, that you bought the studio, you made this game. This is a bad studio. This is a bad game that nobody wants, and it's a dead product. You move on. You move on and you do something better. You do something new. You do something, I don't know, that your fan base has been asking for. I mean, what's it going to take, man? Like, I hope that this stream, at the end of the day, I hope this stream is pointless, because I hope that the reporting I'm seeing here, I hope that everything I'm seeing about, like, oh, Concord is being updated on the back end, yeah, or like it might be going to PS Plus or free to play. I hope it's all just bullshit and nonsense, and actually nothing's going on and nothing's happening, and that the game is dead. It's bad enough that Sony is basically becoming a laughingstock through their constant remakes and remasters. But, you know, Concord, I just think, took things to a new level, and not a good time, man. Not a good time. Reviving Concord is maybe how they keep their jobs. Oof. I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from, Angry Whale Watcher, because that's kind of like, it's like, well, you lost us all this money, so we'll give you a couple chances to try to make some back. And yeah, maybe from like that standpoint, it's like, we got to try to save our asses now. But I guess I couldn't blame them for trying to do that, if that's what it comes down to. But I would argue, and this is probably the most important thing I would say, is that Sony's going to get laughed at, and they're going to get torched. They're going to get torched if they try to bring Concord back. And if they don't see that clear as day, then they deserve everything that's coming their way, dude. They deserve what's about to come their way, because it should be super obvious to them that it's like, if you try to do anything with this game, people are gonna, dude, the internet hate, it's gonna be like flies on shit, dude. That's what it's gonna be. Concord being pro enhanced, that should fix it. That would be funny if they were to, I mean, if they came out and they were like, look, we revamped the characters. Actually, that would be the funniest shit ever. See, then the conversation, at that point, we can have a conversation about maybe this game comes back, where they're like, you know what, we're going to make all the characters sexy now. You know, they make all the characters. They make them, even make the robots sexy. I don't know how you do that, but they just go all in. And you know what? We got to win people back. Have profanity. Yeah. There you go. If they did that, I don't know, that could change the conversation. I hate to say it. What's that one game? The First Descendant. Have you guys seen what that game has turned into? I've been seeing what that game turned into, and that game is just basically it's like a thirst trap, you know? They keep coming out with these new skins for the female characters that are like, I mean, it's basically, yeah, it's always been that way, but they're like super leaning into it though, you know? And it's smart because it's working. Like, it's working so well for them. They're just raking in the money. So it's like right there. The template is right there. There you go. Hire me, Sony. I'll save Concord. Super Thirst. We've renamed Concord to Super Thirst. Jerry A just says cheeks. Yeah, that dude, there you go. Just rename Concord Cheeks. Relaunch it. Put the robots in bikinis. This is how we save Concord. Sony, if you're going to do it, this is the only way it's going to work. Saying Sony's too woke to make super hot characters. Well, I'll tell you what, if they do decide they're going to relaunch Concord, I bet like they got to take so I saw somebody say maybe they're just trying to like become a meme game. Like they're taking that route where it's like it's like it really did turn into a joke and they start to lean into the joke. But that to me doesn't sound plausible because that doesn't sound like Sony at all. Like if Sony were to try to relaunch Concord, I think they would do so earnestly. They would do so very seriously, like, no, we need to make this work. And it's like, are you stupid? True Trophies found that PS Plus Extra and Premium games underwent a 48.67% drop in player numbers in July 2024. Damn. That's pretty brutal. Gaming Survivor says Concord is not just a bad game, it's a PR nightmare and brand disaster. Yeah, exactly. You're saying so they need to erase it from existence. That's what I'm saying, dude. That's why it's unfathomable to me that they would actually like again, I just have to hope that this report and what people are seeing is that it's not indicative of anything, but it's concerning because we're seeing movement. We're seeing the game getting updated. We're seeing that it's not being removed. Like they're not just pulling it from like completely. They're actually doing stuff on the back end. And that's just like, come on, man. Are you saying they have been hiring new leadership positions to try to turn the game around? Multiple listings have been filled in the last weeks. I didn't know that. That's actually really interesting. Shit. Yeah, I mean, we haven't heard anything about layoffs or anything or like the studio closing or anything like that. And everybody kind of thought that that's what was next. The last positions they hired for were lead character designer and brand managers. I mean, I laugh, but like, yes, that's, I guess, like, if you're going, if that's the direction they're going in, no matter what, it's like, no, we're doing something with this. We're going to make it work. It's like, okay, well, I guess that's where you got to start. You got to start with replacing the artists. You got to start with hiring some brand managers. I just don't know, dude. Like if I sit here and I seriously try to entertain the idea of like, what could they do? I mean, I know I was just kind of joking about like make everything sexy, but maybe that really is like, I don't know, maybe that is what you do. If you're that serious where it's like, we got to make this work no matter what. We've put too much money into it. We've lost too much money. We'll do whatever it takes. Essentially, if you let the gaming community or the internet, not the gaming community, if you let the internet mold Concord into what they think it should be, then that might work. You could maybe win people back that way. You know, all the things that people had a problem with, if you were to just say, okay, we're going to scrap all that and we want you tell us what to do. And then they just do it. And basically Concord can become a totally different transformed game, and it turns into exactly what the internet said it should be. I don't know. I feel like it takes something that drastic and that dramatic because Concord is not just an average failure. It's not a regular failure. Concord is like an advanced failure. You know, it's like a level of failure that you just don't really see. Make Concord alive again. You bet they will include the first 2 seasons of content in the relaunch. Carl is saying, but the game was average, though. The game was average, but I think that, like, from a gameplay perspective, it was. But I think that everything surrounding it created the perfect storm. It created, like, the perfect storm of just, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, guys. If there's one benefit I get, if Sony relaunches Concord, or if they try to, content. Somehow we're still talking about Concord, I'll cover it. But I'm just so nervous, man, because there's just there's this fear that Sony really is losing touch. A lot of people believe they've already completely lost touch. And Concord was just really difficult as a PlayStation fan to just watch, where it's like, oh my God, like, this is so bad. Like PlayStation, what happened, bro? Like, I'm thinking back to, like, 2019. It's like, we got God of War 2018. He's got a son. He's looking after his son. He's trying to be a better father, protector, going on a crazy ass adventure, beating the shit out of Baldur. Awesome game. Got Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Horizon Zero Dawn. The list just kind of goes on. It just feels like this is, like, everything they were doing. It's like, this is just awesome, bro. And then like, somehow, like, 4 years later, it's like, now we got Concord. And it's like, what the fuck happened? I'm not saying Concord just erases all that, but it's just so weird to me how in such a short period of time, like, there could be such a dramatic shift in just, like, Sony, I don't get it, man. Like, everybody was on your side. Like, you were winning. Like, you were winning to a point where it's like people were overwhelmed with how good you were doing. I don't understand how you go from that to just, like, we're going to need those robots with pronouns. It's like, okay. That's true. I know. We had Astrobot. It's not all. I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm just saying it's and I get it. I know people are like, it's DEI, it's woke, and I we've talked about that at length, and there are times where they're going too far in a direction that they definitely shouldn't be. But for me, it's just more like from a fundamental level of, like, I will never be able to get over the fact, as long as Herman Hulst is working at Sony, as long as he's part of the company, I will never be able to get over the fact that, like, he really just thought, like, and maybe he still does, and that's what's scary. That's, like, the most scary thing, is he just believes, like, he really believes, like, this is it, man. Like, this is the way. This is the way. And it's like, no, it's not. I want to know what Herman Hulst thinks of Helldivers. Like, Helldivers is an objective success. People love Helldivers. You would just think that, like, that would put a light bulb or something up, It's like, oh. Dude, I saw this post on Twitter the other day, and it was so sad, but so true. Somebody was like, man, we live in a timeline where we're actually somehow closer. Like, Halo releasing on PlayStation is closer to being a reality than Sony doing something with Killzone. And I'm like, oh my God, that's actually true. What timeline did we slip into, man? That's actually true. How is that even possible? Jim Ryan. You do have to wonder. You really do have to wonder how much different things would have been if Jim Ryan was not the one to be promoted to PlayStation CEO. Because I remember back in, like, 2019 when that happened, there was some kind of, like, major internal conflict at Sony where there were basically, like, there was, like, a power struggle of some kind. And whatever side Jim Ryan was on, he won. And I wonder, like, you do have to wonder if maybe the difference, you look back and like, what was the power struggle? The power struggle was one side was like, guys, we should just stick to what we're doing. Like it's working well and we're winning. We're winning. We're doing great. People love this shit. And maybe the other side was like, no, we can do more. We should be doing live service. We should be expanding. We should be getting that microtransaction revenue. I don't know. I got a bad feeling, man. They want their Fortnite / COD. They do. And that's the thing, man. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I totally get that, where it's like you want your big moneymaker that you can just milk quarter after quarter, fiscal year after fiscal year. I get it. And I don't blame them because Sony has a lot of insight into this. If anything, Sony has more insight than most others, where Sony runs a storefront where they can see every single quarter all these live service games and how much money they're making individually. Just one game, how much money they're making quarter after quarter. And I get it that Sony wants that, but I just feel like their approach is it's just totally if not backwards, just misguided, man. Like, Sony, I'll be honest with you, I don't think you're going to have a Fortnite level success. I don't think you're ever going to have a GTA Online or Call of Duty level success. But I think you could have a modest level of success. Kind of, I mean, I don't know. We look at something like Helldivers 2, and it's like, that's more than a modest level of success. That's a large level of success. But I don't think anybody really knows what Helldivers is going to be like 3 or 4 years from now. I don't even think the team themselves know. So it's like, Helldivers, the reason why I keep bringing it up is because I feel like that should wake Sony up a bit. Where it's like, you don't know what live service games are going to hit and which ones aren't, although we have a good idea now that Concord didn't hit. So you have this data. Helldivers 2 hit, Concord didn't. Okay, so work from that. What can we take from that? Well, what I take from it is, okay, what made Helldivers hit? What made Helldivers hit is it wasn't trying to do what every other fucking live service game out there is doing. It didn't try to just copy the playbook and say, maybe this will work for us too. No, they did their own thing. They got creative with it. They had fun with it. And it resonated. There wasn't some kind of agenda. There wasn't some bullshit. It was just, here's a really fun co-op game that doesn't take itself too seriously, but the gameplay is mega fun and it's comedic in a sense, and it worked. And I feel like Concord is the opposite, and the level of investment that Sony made with Concord, where we're going to have a limited edition controller, we're going all in. This is our Star Wars level project. By the way, the most recent rumor or report we got with Concord, where it costs like $400 million to make and whatnot, and we got that from Colin Moriarty. He doubled down on that, by the way. People were calling him out and saying that, like, no, this isn't real. But he doubled down and he said, no, trust me. Like, the source that I vetted, like, they would know. And I'm like, dude, his source has to be Jim Ryan, bro. But that's the thing that will just truly haunt me when it comes to PlayStation and their leadership is, like, Sony. It's not that they didn't believe in Helldivers, but they were just like, oh yeah, Helldivers, yeah, cool. That's cool, man. Maybe that'll do okay. And they just weren't paying much attention to it. But they were putting everything in Concord, and they really thought, like, no, this is it, baby. Like, this is too big to fail. This is going to work. And so it's just very concerning if they have the data that they have right now. The data, again, is Helldivers 2 was a massive success, blew up. There's zero hype for Fair Games. Concord died immediately because nobody wants it. So I think at that point, the answer for Sony is maybe get a little bit more creative and get a little bit, I don't know, go off the beaten path, so to speak, if you're trying to pursue live service. because these days, you know, there are already these games that are just established where it's like there will not be a Fortnite clone that succeeds because Fortnite exists. There will not be a Call of Duty clone that succeeds because Call of Duty exists. There will not be a GTA Online clone that succeeds because GTA Online already exists. You can't do this stuff. You can't just basically, or, you know, in the case of Concord, it's like, yeah, Overwatch already exists, right? And it's not even just Overwatch, but now you have games like Marvel Rivals coming out. And there's been so many hero shooters, like all these hero shooters already exist. There's just not, you know, there's not much of a chance of any other hero shooter finding success. But if you are going to make another hero shooter, you got to have, you know, you have to bring something to the table that can hopefully guarantee you some level of success. And so it's like, if you're going to bring something like Concord to the table in the hero shooter genre, what exactly are you bringing to the table that you think is going to guarantee you success? Like, I mean, that to me, that's the question that really needs to be answered, where it's like, what are you bringing to the table with this that you think is so fucking good? That's the part that scares the shit out of me, because it's like none of the, like, nothing here is good. Certainly not great. Like, nothing here is going to stand out. The only thing that's going to stand out about this is how ridiculous it looks compared to anything else out there. This really, really, I'm telling you, man, if Sony really tries to do more with Concord, I at some point I'm gonna start screaming like, dude, they got to get Herman out of there, because there's just no way, dude. I'm sorry, there's no way. The formula is easy. Make a game that's interesting and has a comeback factor, something that keeps people hooked. The gameplay loop is fun. People will keep coming back. Don't worry, it'll flop again. Yeah, I mean, I feel like all games get boring at some point. Like, no matter how good the gameplay loop is, eventually you'll get tired of it, you know? But what you're speaking to, the kind of comeback factor, I think that comes in the form of, you know, refreshing the content, and, you know, people come back not necessarily for the gameplay loop because they already know what the gameplay loop is, but they come back for the new content, and they're used to that gameplay loop. And I feel like, yeah, that's pretty much what we see now with every successful live service game. But my, you know, one of the biggest problems with Concord is like the gameplay loop wasn't that good either. And that's what I mean, is it's just like, I'm not saying it was bad. It's not. Like, I'll be honest, like Concord it gets the fundamentals right, where it's like, yeah, this feels fine to play. Like, it's fine. It's doing things at a competent level. But I don't know, man. I played quite a few different multiplayer games, quite a few different live service games, and I just couldn't really find something there that's like, I don't know, man. Like, when you play Call of Duty, for as tired as people are of Call of Duty, what I can tell you is, like, Call of Duty, you're not going to get better shooting mechanics than that. Like, that's it. Like, what, like, do you want like the best feeling first person shooter on the market? Yeah, go play Call of Duty. Like, it may get stale at times. It may become too much and people get tired of it and they leave and whatever. But that's the thing, man, is like they've always made sure that, like, if you try to compete with Call of Duty from a mechanic standpoint, you're going to have a hard time, because they've been refining that shit for like 20 plus years. So you take that, and then you also take the history of it, you take the content output, the fact that they have like all their studios working on it. And that's why when we kind of talked about, you know, Sony basically saying like, we can't compete with Call of Duty. Like, we can't make our own Call of Duty. That's impossible. It's like, yeah, that's kind of true. Good luck. And again, it's the same thing with Fortnite, where it's like, you think you're going to make a battle royale that's accessible and feels as good to play as Fortnite. Go ahead. Oh, it doesn't matter. You're like 1,000 days late. and tens of $1,000s short because Fortnite already did that. And now they have all these skins, they have all the partnerships, and you just can't compete. You can't compete against that. It doesn't stop studios from trying and games from trying. But here's the important part about what I'm saying. When I say you can't compete against that, I'm not saying that doesn't mean you can't make your own game. I want to make that clear. That's not me saying that you can't make your own Battle Royale. You can't make your own Fortnite-esque game. You can. You can try to make your own Call of Duty as well. You can make that type of game. But the real problem is these companies, these publishers, what they can't accept is that you're not going to make the same type of money they're making. In that sense, you cannot compete. You will not be able to compete because they already won that battle. Like they've already stuck their flag in the ground. You know, like it's theirs. You can still get a sliver of that pie maybe, but you're not going to get. And that's where I think Sony's misguided here, where I think like when we say Sony wants their own Fortnite, they want their own GTA Online, they want their own Call of Duty, they want that type of money. They just want to rake that money in. And it's like, Sony, you're not going to do that in the hero shooter genre. Sorry. Maybe a different genre. Maybe you have a chance, but it would be the equivalent of like if Sony was like, we're going to make our own Fortnite. Like, no, you're not. I mean, you can, but that's not going to be your winner. We're going to make our own Call of Duty. Okay, go ahead. You make our own first-person shooter. I'd play it. I'd give that a shot. Our modern military first-person shooter. Go ahead. You're not making that Call of Duty money. It's going to take something unique. Something very, I don't know, something novel at this point. Digital Dude 25 says, Sony, stop talking about Concord. Why haven't you? Because I'm afraid. Can't you sense the fear in my voice, Digital Dude? I'm afraid they're going to start talking about it again. Dude, like I said, man, I hope I could just straight up like end up deleting the stream at some point. Where it's like, oh, it turns out that nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. MBG, the prophecy. I was thinking about talking about the fact that that Microsoft apparently is not selling consoles anymore in the Middle East or something, but I don't know. Maybe, yeah, Marathon could have some potential. I will say, the only game in the extraction shooter genre that seems to have found big success is Escape from Tarkov. I don't really know of any other big established extraction shooter games. Maybe that's Sony's way. It's like, Sony, this is a genre that, you know, there is successful games, but nothing has really risen in this genre to the heights, you know? Digital Dude says pulling fake scenarios out of thin air, huh? Well, I mean, yes, Digital Dude, that's like half of what we do. Come on, you got to know this by now, bro. We're pulling fake scenarios. We're just making shit up. I mean, look, man. I wasn't planning on talking about this. You can blame the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit for reporting on this. And I'm looking at it now. It's starting to gain traction. This person says, regardless of the game's actual quality, I think the conversation and controversy surrounding it has doomed it. This is not a Morbius situation where you should re-release a failed product. I think Sony did that too. Wait, wasn't that Sony? Didn't Sony do that with Morbius? They're like, it failed too hard. We got to give it another chance. And then it failed even harder after that. This person says it would be surprising if Sony keeps this studio in any capacity. Another person says smartest move at this point: fix some characters, monetize it for free to play, and release it on Steam. Might be able to do decent. I don't know. I don't think so, man. See, the biggest thing for me and why Sony should walk away from Concord permanently is because there was a point in time where this game was free to play. During the open beta, you know, anybody on PC could play it. Anybody could play it, and I think it got like 1,400 players or something. So that's why I'm saying, like, I mean, the only thing I can realistically entertain is people who are saying that maybe they're going to like dramatically change things about the game. Like they're going to change things about the gameplay, about the overall look and aesthetic of the game. Like if they go in that direction, I mean, I'm not saying it'll work, but I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that somebody was saying that they were hiring people, new leadership positions. Rudy, you're saying you hope Concord comes back just to see me lose it. I guess you know what? It'll really depend on what mood I'm in that day. If I'm in a good mood, I might not lose it. I mean, we'll talk about it. I might not snap as badly as I'm making it sound. But if I'm in a bad mood that day, oh, it's going to be bad. So basically make a new game. Basically. PS5 Pro Enhanced Concord. That'd be so funny, man. Digital Dude, you're saying apparently I'm an X-Bot. Wait, who's saying you're an X-Bot, though? What's going on? Did I miss something? MBG looks like a villain. I look like a villain in this chair. Oh, yeah, Veneno. Hold on, man. What the hell? I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, my bad. I just realized the direct donation. That's weird. I did pin it, but here you go. I'm gonna pin it now. The direct donation link is pinned at the top of the chat now. My bad. I usually don't miss that. Chris Brown says, shout out to my wife for buying me the PS5 Pro disc drive without me knowing. That's pretty cool, man. Oh my God. This stream's going to, I think, end up being literally an hour long. My throat is killing me, dude. It hurts so bad to talk. And Daniel re-ups his membership. Daniel, thank you so much for that, bro. And judging by your membership badge, you've been a member for quite some time as well. Good stuff. Let's get some W's in the chat for Daniel. Appreciate that support, man. Thank you. Daniel back at it again. Oh my God, that's so old. That's so old. Simparkle says, so Concord 2 is real? We can't confirm it yet. We can't confirm it yet. But right now, there are indications based on the Steam backend that Sony might be getting ready to do something with Concord. They might not, but I'll be honest with you guys, man. Like, another reason, and I know I get it. I know how it seems because it's like, well, you're talking about it now. I know that I'm talking about it now. But one of the reasons I would be very disappointed to see Sony potentially bring Concord back is because I really do feel that it's one of those things where it was so bad that like the further away we get from it, the more distance we get from it, we could just move on, and just kind of I mean, obviously, people are going to mention it and people are going to talk about it, and it'll be brought up from time to time. But we could just move on. You know, we just move on. And I feel like if Sony tries to bring it back again, it seems extremely unlikely it's going to succeed. It seems highly, highly likely it's going to fail just as hard the second time. And it's, I just feel like that sucks. Where it's like we're gonna, like, why go through this again, man? I mean, even if you're the development team, like that's another thing. If you're the development team, I get maybe like it's an opportunity to potentially keep your job at the studio and whatnot. But like, I don't know, man. Like, how do you even find the motivation at that point to even convince yourself that this might work? Because the biggest problem that I can tell with something like Concord even going free to play is that, I mean, we could look at the way the game aesthetically, like how it looked and what people had to say about it, and we could talk about the politics of the studio and all that. But truly, the biggest thing is like nobody like, I mean, literally, hardly anybody seemingly cared about this game. Hardly anybody on PC or PS5. It's not like there was a decently sized, small but loyal audience. I mean, there were like a few players. I'm not going to say it's literally zero players, but it was so small. I mean, so microscopic that it's like, how do you think how far do you think that's going to go just because you make it free? I don't know. I don't know, man. Saying arrogant PlayStation from the PS3 days is back. Chris Brown says, are we being naive? They spent how much money on this? They have to try something. I mean, yeah, there is that kind of just reality that we need to try to make some money, but I feel like at this point it's even more risky. I do. Like cuz I feel like if you come out and you try to like do a second like a re-release, it's like, guys, we heard the feedback. It's like, did you though? Cuz the feedback is not make this free to play. That's not the feedback. The feedback is make a different game. So if it's not a different game, then it means they didn't listen to the feedback. And what it does mean is that they're doing exactly what we're saying here, where it's like, listen, guys, we got to try something. We got to try to we got to make something off of this. We need to make some money. And I get that from a business standpoint, but I feel like I would have to inform the board of Sony, like, you're doing so at your own risk, because there is a risk here. And the risk is you're further damaging your reputation and your brand. And that could cost you. It could cost you. I don't want to say like terribly, but if your goal is to try to make some money, just anything, make any money off as you can, just any amount of money you can off of Concord going free to play, I think you're actually at risk of losing even more money, because you're just going to hurt your reputation further. You're going to have a whole another wave of hate on Twitter, on YouTube. It's going to be everywhere. And people are just going to be laughing, and they're going to be shitting on it. And more and more people are going to jump on that bandwagon. And those people are potential customers that would have maybe bought something from you, but now they're just busy laughing at you. And that's why I think, like, I get that they lost a lot of money and that they probably feel like we need to do something with it, but it's just, sometimes that's just the way it goes, man. You spent a bunch of money, you took a risk, you took a chance, and you bet on the wrong horse. It was a bad decision, and now you got to eat it. And I really do think that the best course of action is to just keep it buried, move on, and at the very least, like, try to do something with fair games. I don't know if fair games is going to be any better, but I don't know. I really don't know what Sony's going to do. Michael Stanbrook with a super chat says, even without Concord, it's very clear Sony are out of touch. I think they will try to launch it again. Remember, they thought this was the future PlayStation. Man, it's just so weird to me that's because I think you're right, Michael. Like, why would they think that that was the future of PlayStation, but not anything else they're doing that's actually successful? Sometimes I do wonder about some of the people that climb the ladder and who are in charge, where it's like, how much of it is it? How much is it about them? You know, where it's like, this is going to be the next big thing. It's like, what makes you think that? Because I really like it. Okay, you like it, but does everybody else like it? Does the audience like it? Does the customer like it? Does the people who you're trying to appeal to get their money, do they like it? And that's why I just, I don't understand, man. I know Sony gets a lot of hate, and I know that there are a lot of people who go berserk on Sony, and I think some people take it too far. Obviously, I see people take it too far with Xbox as well, where it's like, okay, sometimes it's like, I don't think we've taken it too far. I don't know, some people might argue we did. I don't think with Concord it was taken too far. I think Concord, like, to be honest, it's one of those rare instances, and I mean, it's rare, where like the amount of backlash that game got and the way it played out is exactly how I think it should have played out. Like, it got what it deserved, which is like somebody was not told along the way. Like, Herman needed to hear this. Herman needed to hear, like, bro, it's like your hand on the shoulder, like, this game's trash. He needed that. Somebody needed to do that for Herman, and he wouldn't let that happen. Nobody would let that happen. And that's where that toxic positivity mindset comes in. And luckily, the internet was here. This is one of those rare moments. It was like the internet was here to be that. The internet collectively put their hand on Herman's shoulder and Sony's shoulder and says, this is trash. Okay. And Sony was like, oh, okay. I guess we'll take it back now. And I just really like, that's what makes me worried. It's just this. I want to believe Sony's not out of touch, man. Like, I want to believe they still, like, somebody there who's in charge still understands, like, you do realize how you got to this point, right? Like, you do realize that people love PlayStation because of the single player games and the great storytelling and the memorable characters. And it's not to say that there can't be multiplayer involved, but like, that's what you are. And that's what makes you great. And that's why you have such a loyal, dedicated, and passionate fan base. And it's just so disturbing to me that, yeah, there's like it's either a certain individual. I don't know if it's just Herman Holst or if there are other people. I'm sure there are other people involved with this type of decision making where it's like, but we got to grow. Like, we got to find new audiences. And it's like, but what makes you think that this is the way to do that? And I've always said, man, like, there's nothing wrong with feeling like you need to find a new audience, in the sense that we want to bring more people on. We have an established audience and we want to bring more people into that audience and just grow it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow. But at what point do these people realize that if you're choosing to do that at the expense of your current established audience, like, you're basically trying to restart and rebuild? Why would you do that? It's very, very strange, man. I don't know what's going on with some of these decisions. I'm not saying you should pander. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying you should like pander to, the most vocal or anything like that. Because I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was like this there was this recent report. I came across it in passing, where I think it was like a video game, not a video game. It was like a movie studio. I don't know if it was Disney. It was, I think it may have been Disney, but they were basically saying like, we're going to start like trying to get direct feedback from like audiences and fans, like, because we need to mitigate backlash. And it's just so like, I don't know that that's necessarily, I don't know if that has its own level of risk where it's like, so now you just want basically the people like me, like just the people screaming on YouTube and on social media. Now you want them in charge. And it's like, I don't know, man, that might be going too far in another direction, you know, where it's like, we just need people who understand how to find that balance appropriately. Omen86 with the super chat says, I'd laugh my ass off if somehow they can turn an L into a W. Can't imagine how, but if they manage to pull it off, respect. Had the flu, better now. I'm happy to hear that, Omen. Yeah. I don't think I have the flu. My throat's killing me though. I got like a really sore throat past couple days. But yeah, being sick, especially with the flu, absolutely sucks. I'm happy to hear you're better, Omen. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if they were to, if somehow pull that off. I don't believe that's, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't believe that's remotely possible. But if like somehow, some way, it's like we've completely overhauled this game. Like when they, it's like they roll out Concord again and they're like, it's unrecognizable. It's just a different game. If they do something like that and they like have a whole marketing messaging behind it where it's like, we messed up, you know, we messed up and now we're going to do it the right way. If they had some kind of crazy messaging like that and it's just a completely different looking game. And the only thing that's the same is maybe the name. I don't know. It would be, I will admit, as a content creator, it would be fascinating to witness that, to see what could happen. But I just feel like, again, it's one of those things where the reputation, I think, is just, it's tarnished to a degree where I think they could make a brand new game. And I think there will still be this, because you know, the thing is, like, you're seeing people hating on stuff these days. And this is becoming a common thing where people are starting to hate on things where it's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're really grasping at anything. And unfortunately, there are enough people where it's like, yeah, I don't really care if it makes sense or not. Let's just be angry and upset and shit on this thing, you know? And it gets tiring when you see stuff like that. It really does get tiring when you see stuff like that because it's like, all right, come on, man. Like, save it for the stuff that really this needs to be directed towards. Don't project it towards the stuff that really doesn't need it or doesn't deserve it. And so that's another reason why I think, like, it seems that, at least for now, like in this environment, it seems like an impossible task. But it's like they literally just call it Concord 2.0. Introducing Concord 2.0. Benino, you're saying put it on Xbox. It would be the shiniest turd there. Oh, that would be funny. We're relaunching Concord exclusively on Xbox. What kind of message would that even send? What are they like? What would Sony even be saying to Microsoft at that point? It's like it actually succeeds on Xbox. Hicksock, you're saying, I gotta say it. It's woke executives, losers with power. Hicksock, he's like, I said it. Oh my God, Hicksock, it reminds me of this video clip. I'm not gonna repeat what the video clip said, but it's like this famous 30-second clip of it's like this foreign man talking about democracy. Does anybody know the clip I'm talking about? He basically explains democracy in 30 seconds. So surely somebody knows what clip I'm talking about. I was like obsessed with watching it yesterday. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, this is like one of the greatest video clips ever made. Yeah, there you go. Adama the Dragoon. He knows. And the comments were so good, man. He like pauses for like 10 seconds in between like every couple words he says. And the comments were just absolute gold. But Hicksock, you reminded me of that because you're like, I'm just going to say it, man. It's woke executives. I mean, to a degree, like, I don't think there's any denying that here's something that I think is important maybe to understand and establish when it comes to like these executives and people who are climbing the ranks. Like, and it's a harsh truth, and I don't like that it's this way, and it sucks that we have to point it out, but a lot of them are just ass kissers, dude. That's how they climb. Like they're just yes men. They'll do whatever the people up top, like they feel this is what they expect. They'll just do it. They don't care why. They don't care the reasoning. They just know this is my way to get promoted. Rimmers, there you go. There you go. PlayStation Pete says, survived the hurricane. What's your first game on the Pro? Well, that's good to hear, PlayStation Pete. Yeah. Anybody else here? I raised my hand. I wasn't part of it, luckily. But yeah, how'd that go, man? It seemed like the hurricane died down a bit by the time it got inland, which is good. Because it was looking real bad for a little while there. It was looking real bad. But PlayStation Pete, the first game on my Pro, I don't know. I didn't even think about that. I'm not sure, dude. Shit. I'm really not sure. I'm going to have to get back to you, PlayStation P. I haven't thought about that. That's so weird. I don't know why I haven't thought about that. I've been thinking about the Pro. Demon's Souls? Yeah, maybe. Actually, yeah, that might be a good one. See what that looks like. I don't know. I'll have to think about it, PlayStation Pete. I'll have to get back to you. Should have been Concord. You think I should start fresh with a new game? I would prefer that. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But that's the sad reality, you know, as Hicksock says here. He says it's like woke executives. And I mean, the thing is, I do think that there are a lot of people involved in the industry. And again, it's all about the echo chambers. And, you know, the echo chambers go both ways, where at these companies, especially like you think about PlayStation and their studios, a lot of their studios are in California or on the West Coast. Sony HQ is in California. And again, I want to tell you this, Hicksock. I saw this video yesterday, and it was a really eye-opening video. It was a really well-done video. And it was basically saying that people like political art. They don't like political activism. And I immediately clicked on this video when I saw it, because I was like, I think this is exactly what I've been trying to say, or what I've been thinking. And that is that, like, politics have always kind of been in there, you know, in storytelling to a degree, like political statements, political messages, politics in general. And this is why, like, when people are like, keep politics out of games, like, that's why I think it's so funny, where it's like, you know, there are people who are like, I hate political games. Metal Gear Solid's my favorite game. It's like, you know, that's like one of the most political games out there. Or like people are like, I hate woke games or whatever. Or like they're making everybody gay or whatnot. I'm like, dude, Metal Gear's pretty gay. Like literally pretty gay. There's a whole video out there called, like, I don't know what the name of the video was, but it's like an hour-long video basically showing you like how much literal gay stuff, and I mean that literally, that Kojima put into the Metal Gear games. And it's like, whoa. Everybody loves it though. Yeah, Death Stranding. I mean, and everybody loves it. And I'm like, there has to be, I need to figure this out. Like, I need to figure out, like, what is it? How is it that some storytellers and some games and some pieces of media can do this stuff and nobody's upset and it's fine, but others, and that's what this video basically explains, is like, because the difference is when you have a storyteller that puts the audience in terms of the message, the way the audience receives the message and the way the audience is left feeling, when they put the audiences before themselves, before their own satisfaction, that's when you get what we would call political art. That's when you see these, because, like, again, you look at these pieces of media that people love, like, there is politics in there. But it's the way in which the message is delivered. It's not done. It's done in a subtle way to make you think and to let you come to your own conclusion. To whereas political activism in these projects these days and in this media, it's literally like, no, I'm smarter than you. I'm right and you're wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to just continue to beat that drum until you agree with me. And that's what it is. And that's why people fucking hate it. And that's why people get so tired of it, that's why the moment it seems like there's anything like that involved with, I know, you're saying, I thought we weren't using the term woke anymore. I'm trying not to, but I mean, at this point, I don't know what else to call it. Like, I've actually thought about, like, what other word could I use, but I don't know. I guess we could call it that. We could just call it political activism. Maybe we can call it that. We could call it identity politics and political activism. These things that just, they don't necessarily belong in these games. They don't belong in this media, in this, in this environment, because we're trying to enjoy good stories with good characters and stuff that can feel like it's leaving a meaningful message that isn't beating people over the head with shit, Omen86 says, opens box. New console. Magical. Excited for the Pro. Yeah, dude. You're going to take a big whiff. You're going to, like, open the box and just that new console smell. I won't lie, man. I am looking forward to as long as everything goes according to plan, I'm looking forward to unboxing the Pro, because there's nothing quite like that, It's like, you open a new game, a new physical game, that feels good. But new hardware, man, unboxing the new hardware for the first time, it's always very exciting. It's magical, man. Damn. MBG, you can have all kinds of shit in the media. If you make it make sense in the context of the story you're telling, generally isn't an issue. Yeah, that's another good point. Because that's why I'm trying to say, like, there's always a message. And the message, I don't think anybody really has a problem with the message, if you think about it. Because we all, like, think of it like this. It's like, you're going to a family gathering, and let's say that, well, I mean, we don't have to, I say it like it's some kind of uncommon thing, but, you're going to a family gathering, and everybody has their own political beliefs, right? And there's one family member that you don't agree with politically. However, you have no problem talking to them. You notice that, man, I can just talk to this person about our politics, and there's no problem. But there's another family member where it's all, like, you just can't talk to them about it, because it immediately becomes a problem. And I feel like we all have this, like, kind of firsthand experience where, like, That's what I mean. Is there? It's more of an attitude thing than anything, where people are just tired of people being assholes. Like, to be honest, like just being arrogant in your face. I'm better than you. I'm right and you're wrong. People are so fucking tired of that. And it's understandable because, like, do you want to be around those types of people in your real life? You know, like, do you want to constantly be around somebody that's going to behave that way? No, you get away from those types of people because they're fucking annoying and they're overwhelming. And they don't quite realize that nobody wants to be around you because you're annoying. Like, you're annoying people by being that way. And, you know, a lot of these people who are like this, I don't know, they've made their way into these different mediums, these entertainment mediums, and they basically just project that now into their work, right? Into their stories, into their whatever. And it just, it makes everything, it makes you realize and appreciate just how good we had it, I guess you could say. Or when you see something that's actually good and genuine, it makes you appreciate it even more. Because it's like, wow, okay. I didn't realize how bad it could be. No, I'm not calling you out. I'm not calling you. No. I mean, I get it, man. Everybody gets passionate, you know? Everybody gets emotionally driven. I get it. Believe me, I get it. But I guess I'm just saying that, like, if you are trying to captivate people and get people's attention and get them to listen, you know, I think, like, if you have to do that by being overly assertive, like to an annoying degree, and being like in people's faces, like that's how you need to get their attention. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's pretty weak, you know? Like, if that's what you need to do to get the message across, you might want to reevaluate the message. But Hollywood Will Burn says woke equals multicultural intersectional Marxism. Boom. Hollywood will burn. He gave it to us straight. Just like that. All right, hold on. My chat is like breaking down. Not my chat, but YouTube. All right. But we hate you. Have the awful game. Yeah. I mean, people are you know, when I see people who are pushing back very aggressively against, you know, the woke takeover, if you will, of like whether it be PlayStation or gaming, and even with like stuff like Silent Hill 2, I understand where that comes from, because it's like, as I've said, like there are extremist individuals that are planted in these in these different studios, and they exist. And the last thing we want to see are them rise to the top, because if you get the extremists and they start to carve out a path for themselves, where they start to get these positions of power, that's where you start to see, like, okay. Oliver, you're saying, MBG, did you see the ex-SBI member that said DEI's mission is to destroy entertainment and gaming? I actually didn't see this, Oliver. Can you tell me where I can find that? Because that's what I mean. Like, that sounds ridiculous, dude. That sounds ridiculous. Where it's like, why would you be working in an industry that you hate? Like, my mission is to destroy it. You know, that doesn't make any sense. And that's what scares the shit out of me, is like, why are people like that even entering the industry if they hate it? I don't get it. It makes no sense. What, like, shouldn't you gravitate towards something that you do enjoy? That you don't want to destroy? Sleeper cell. Oh man. That's not good. I don't know. It feels very divided at this moment in time, like more than it ever has been in gaming, and because a lot of them hate men's enjoyment in life. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure people get. I know for a fact people on my channel get tired of me talking about this because I oscillate, you know, and I know people hate that, especially in these spaces where it's like, bro, one day you're over here, the next day you're over here. It's just like, you know, it comes off as a flip flopper, and to be honest, it's because I realized, dude, that man, not everybody is this way. You know what I mean? Like, there are people, I think, who genuinely find themselves kind of boxed in a corner, but they actually do, like, they really do have good intentions. Like, I don't think they're bad people. But then you see the bad people, and then you get overwhelmed by the bad people, and then you're like, I fucking hate this. I want nothing to do with this. F you all. You know what I mean? And that I think is happening more and more and more, and that's what's making people kind of, again, it's like, all right, well, what side of the fence are you on, bro? Because that, and I get it. That's kind of the just natural order of things in a way. At the end of the day, for as difficult as that may be, but yeah, I don't know. It's just yeah. That's a good quote. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Yep, that's very true. I don't know, I just struggle a little bit because I do see it. You know, it's like when there's certain things that I try to be excited about, and people are like, bro, like, what are you, like, are you woke? And be like, maybe G, you're woke now, you know, or whatever, you know, and people kind of point out to me like, I don't get it. Like, I thought you were against this stuff. And that's where I'm trying to like avoid just bunching everything together. And it becomes really hard to do that when there's so much happening at any one time where, for example, Silent Hill 2 remake, I saw somebody, their tweet kind of blew up because they were like, well, look at the credits. In the credits, see, they're working with this DEI company or whatever called like Hitbox or some shit. And I was like, what is that? I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I never heard of them. And then somebody pointed out, they were like, actually, that's not really they're not a DEI consultancy company. That's hit detection. I think that's what they're called. And again, I haven't looked deeply into this, but they were saying like, that's not actually a DEI, you know, consultancy, whatever. They're actually made to just like test games, like to basically tell you if there's something wrong with your game or whatever. As in, like, they play through it and they got to make sure that, like, basically just trying to gauge, like, are people going to think our game is shit or not? That's basically what this person said. And maybe I'm at fault for not looking. Like, it's almost like playtesters, kind of. Yeah, it almost is like they like mock reviews or something. You know, that's kind of the vibe I got, where it's like they kind of. You're saying it is MBG? It's on their website, same as SBI. I mean, there is this level of concern where it's like, again, when I think about, well, what do people have against some of these companies? Like, why is there this intense crusade? I mean, like pitchforks and torches, where it's like against any company that's doing this shit. And the truth is, because when you do look deeper, you begin to realize that these companies hire seemingly, not everybody, but they end up hiring like certain people that are fucking lunatics. They hire crazy people that, like, yeah, there are, and that's where shit gets so messed up, where it's like, there are people making your product right now that fucking hate you. They hate you. You know, like, they don't like you, and they want to do as much as they can to actually make you hate the thing that you once loved. And that's real. Like that, like as real as there are people out there that are sexist and that are racist and that are homophobic, that's real too, you know? And you could just tell like there's just people where they want to take this shit out on the wrong things, on the wrong people, on the wrong products. And that to me is kind of where the concern lies, you know, and it eventually it does become a hive mind where in the same way that I think people are becoming a little bit hive mindish, or in some cases very hive mindish, depending on where you look, about like everything's woke now. It's the same exact thing in the other direction where it's like, well, there's absolutely a massive hive mind of it's got to be this, 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 and that. And if it's not, then it's just, then they're just, it's bigotry. You know what I mean? It's like, what? You know? And one of the things that I've seen too that I do want to talk about here for a moment is this idea of like demasculinization and how, you know, there's kind of like this effort to, you know, it's like, well, we got like the men have to step aside, you know, and it's there's no more like we can't really focus on the strong male leads anymore. And that's where it's just like, I will continue to advocate for what I believe to be the right solution here, or the most logical, which is like, that shouldn't exist. You know what I mean? Like there should never be a need. We have to make sure there's less, you know, male leads or strong male characters or like really masculine male characters. It shouldn't be that. Instead, what it should be is let's just create new characters as well that check another box. If you want to, like if that's what, because if it's like the industry's growing and there's more people getting involved, okay, then make more female characters, but it shouldn't come at the expense. That's the key. That right there is the key that people can't seem to agree on. And you look at these companies and it's like, yeah, don't replace characters. Don't do the bait and switch shit. And I know that recently a lot of people look at something like Ghost of Yote as like, that's a bait and switch. I don't know that I count that. You know, it's like, let's see. I'll give that a chance. Where like Jin had his time in the sun. Let's see this new character. I will say I'm not letting it influence my purchasing decision, but I do understand when people are like, bro, do you see who, like the person who's playing this role is a political activist. And I won't lie, like that is disheartening to me, but she's an actress. And that's where I'm like, again, I'm trying to use my brain to be able to like, all right, as long as her and her political activism has no influence over the story that Sucker Punch want to tell, then that's fine. She can be whatever she could be as political activist as she wants on her own time, whatever. Like that's her freedom, right? But if it turns out that it's like, nah, dude, like that's why they hired her. You know, like that's when everything shifts. Where it's like, wait, I would have thought that they would and this is, maybe I'm naive. You know, maybe I am naive for this, but it's like I want to believe like, no, they hired her because she tried out for the role and she nailed it. You know, she did a really good job and they were impressed with her acting skills and her acting abilities and her voice acting. You know? But if it's like, no, we actually hired her because did you see her? Look at how active she is. She's such a great political activist on Twitter. That to me would be like, holy shit, that's concerning. That is not why you should hire somebody, especially for such an important role like this. You know, that's the last reason you should hire somebody. So, you know, but we've seen some weird shit go on in the industry. And that's why I understand people's concern where they're like, I don't know, man. Don't be surprised. Like, don't be surprised if that's exactly why they hired her. I'm like, shit, that doesn't seem right. You know, like that doesn't seem like why you would want to hire somebody for a job. Omen, you're saying a surgeon might be a DEI asshole, but if he operates and cures me, I don't care. I'm more worried about incompetence. Xbox is Lehman Bros. Microsoft the bailout. I get, yeah. See, that's another thing too, is like, that's what I mean. Like, if some what you're describing here, Omen, is the separation of a person's own beliefs and the job that they're being paid to do. And I'm 100% in agreement with that. You know? Like I don't want to see people rallying behind a political belief when they're trying to sell me a video game. And that goes either way. I don't need to be sold like this is for people this is for conservatives, like this is for Democrats. Like, no, just make it a good product. You know? And let's just try to, you know, if you have a political message you're trying to convey with this product, please do it. Handle it with care and subtlety and respect. Because if you don't, you're automatically just you're shunning a certain group. And I don't know, man. It's really, it's all getting really messy anymore. And it's just disappointing to see because it feels like it's inescapable. You know, I don't want to spend all of my time talking about, is it woke? Is it not? Is it this? Is it that? But, you know, but I have to be honest with myself too, where it's like, and I've said this, where people are like, bro, I think you're being too easy on some of this stuff. And it's like, listen, man, I can tell you, like, I don't, like, if this makes me sexist or whatever, then I don't know what to say, because it's like, I prefer to play as, like, characters I relate to in games. Like, somebody kind of pointed out to me, like, bro, don't you notice all your favorite, like, characters, like Snake and Kratos and Jin and whatnot, like, they're men. They're like masculine men with very masculine traits. And the thing is, I've always gravitated towards that because, well, I'm a man, I'm a male, and I've always looked up to certain like masculine traits that I thought are admirable. Like, I would like to be that way, hopefully, or I strive to be like that or similar, or like there's certain qualities, you know? And I think that's where people start to get, specifically men and guys, I think they start to, because we have seen this where it's like when a certain group of people decide to take some of those positive qualities and those things that people like me and many others, like, we relate to and gravitate towards and say, like, you know, this means something to me. And they try to twist it into like, no, that's bad. That is when the shit hits the fan. And that's when shit gets out of hand. And that was why, like, for example, with Joel, and when he, you know, with the whole situation happened in The Last of Us Part 2, that's why when I saw people who were getting nuts online were like, Joel sucked. Joel was horrible. Fuck Joel. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you, an idiot? Like, he was like the biggest part of the first game. Like, the first game was about a father who lost a daughter and had a chance to do something different, whether it be seek redemption or whatever. Like, that was the fucking point. And that's why it was just so depressing, because, like, people were saying, like, oh, a message that Neil Druckmann was trying to get across is like, yeah, you died, Joel. Like, no more white man in our game. Like, get out of here. And no more masculinity in our game. Get out. The only masculinity you're allowed to see is with fucking Abby. She'll be the masculine one. And I'm like, I just, like, that can't be true. It just can't be fucking true. Like, I like can't, I refuse, like, that just doesn't compute to me. You know? Where it's like, is that really the fucking message? I don't, like, that cannot be the message. That's so irresponsible. That's so asinine. That's so backwards. And that's why it's just like, I don't know, during that heated time, people were like, no, that is the message, bro. That is the message. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I really want to just believe that they honor Joel somehow, because I can't believe that. Because it's so hard. Like, that's like an impossible thing to accept, where it's like, bro, if that was the intention, these people got to go. Because like that's just not that's not even remotely cool, bro. And that's the thing. I don't think everybody walked away with that message. And I didn't fully get that message. But what I will say is there were people in the community, in the Naughty Dog and Last of Us community, that they really did walk away where that was the message. And I know this because that's what they were telling me. Like when I was basically saying like, man, I don't know why they did Joel like that. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like this game, it went in a crazy ass direction that I don't know if it was good, you know? And people were like, no, bro, Joel fucking sucked. Screw that guy. And I'm just like, what the fuck? like just really perplexed. Like, what is happening, man? Wait, are you people even fans of The Last of Us? Who are you people? Omen says, I'm pro permahat. Most people find it weird. You're right. I got to get on that merch, Omen. I got to get on that permahat merch. Joel was a tragic hero. Yeah, and you know, it's kind of like, I mean, I feel like it's been everywhere, right? It's been everywhere to a degree where, oh, you know, look at what they did to Peter Parker. They made him some little bitch in Spider-Man. I'm just laughing because it's just kind of funny. Like they made Peter Parker a little bitch in Spider-Man 2, just getting thrown around, constantly having back problems, you know, can't do anything on his own anymore. And I'm like, and that's where I really don't know. Like I have to think about that. I have to like really study it and be like, is that true? And that's where it's weird because it's like, I feel like it's easy to see something and jump to a conclusion where it's like, trust me, man, this is what they were trying to do. They hate you. They don't like men. They don't like masculinity. That's what it is. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right. I don't like the sound of that. You know, I don't want to support that. And then I gotta look at it more closely. And I feel like it requires a deeper analysis to really figure out, like, is this really the message they're trying to convey? And that's why, like, if you look at Ghost of Yotei, I try to encourage people, like, don't jump to conclusions. Because one of the biggest conclusions that a certain group of people have already jumped to is that it's a bait and switch. We had a strong, masculine, male lead, badass Jin Sakai that we should have got a sequel for, but instead it was a bait and switch. Now we're going to get a girl boss. And I'm like, okay, I won't lie. Like when you put it that way, like when somebody tells me that does sound triggering where it's like, what the fuck? I don't want that. You know, like that's not what I signed up for. But I don't know. But that's the thing is like that sounds extremely egregious where it's like, we hate Jin. Okay. We are not doing another game with this bitch ass Jin Sakai. We don't need that toxic male energy. And like, I don't know about that, man. Like, I don't know that I'm willing to jump to the conclusion that that's how they view Jin. You know, I don't believe that. And I haven't seen anything to make like, and that's where, again, this is where people, they start to try to connect dots. And I don't blame them for trying to connect dots because it's like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Where it's like, bro, first they get rid of Jin. Now look at who they hired. A political activist and feminist. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I admit that's not, you can connect those dots and it doesn't look too good. But that's where it's like, let's let the game do the talking then, you know? Let's see, because if this game was made with that intent, where it's like, we want to replace Jin and we have a message of girl boss feminism, you know, Like, at what point does it become toxic feminism? You know what I mean? Just as, like, because there is toxic masculinity where it can be taken too far, and like now you're just being toxic. And you know, I think it goes the other way too. And I just think that I think there has to be a kind of balance struck where it's like you can do things to characters, I think, that make them, I don't want to say, it's not a matter of making them less respectable, but if anything, more relatable, where it's like, you know, this really badass character has a moment of weakness. Like, that's why I feel like Kratos was handled so well, dude. And I know that there are people that are like, they softened Kratos and they made him a bitch and everything. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I really don't see it that way. I feel like they handled it perfectly. Where, dude, I don't know. I don't look at Kratos as a bitch. I don't look at him as weak. I think he's still just as strong as he ever was, except I just think he's in control now. You know, he's grounded. Like, he knows how to control his temper and his anger, and he knows what's worth breaking somebody in half for. Versus maybe back then he was just totally blinded and he felt like he had to break everything in half, you know? And that, to me, that's a really good way to handle, you know, a character like that, where it wasn't even just the masculinity of it, but it's just the fact that, like, this bro is like, he's so powerful, man. Like, he'll rip you to shreds. He doesn't take any shit. Like, there's not a soft bone in Kratos' body, right? Like, but I think that's when people look deeper into Kratos' story. It's like, well, no, think about why he's doing this, dude. It's because he had a wife, he had a kid, you know, like, he had a daughter, and that shit was ripped away from him. Like, he did it, he killed them, you know? And when you look at stuff like that, you realize, like, oh, there is depth there. There actually is depth there. It's just, you know, the way it's being projected is through blinding rage. And that's why I think it's so fascinating to see, like, Kratos's arc come to this, you know, again, man, if you play the Valhalla DLC, bro, and you see Kratos today, like, looking at his younger self sitting in the throne and just talking to him and talking to his younger self like that, I'm like, that is so fucking cool, man. Like, that is awesome. Like, that's real right there. And that's what I mean, is like, they did not disrespect the character of Kratos. They did not you know, somebody didn't just walk in and be like, well, it's a problem that Kratos is, like, you know, he's got toxic masculine traits here. You know, nobody did that, because that's not what you should do. Because that's not necessarily true. Like, Kratos' toxic traits where he gets a bit too crazy at times. And even he admits, like, even that's like the whole point, is he kind of regrets, like, man, I think I took it too far. You know? And that's a toxic trait, not just for a male either. But I don't know, man. Saying, MBG, I understand you're a fan of Ghost of Tsushima and you want to be optimistic, but bro, there's a reason why they hired her. Woke hires woke. Thinking otherwise is being a little naive. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like, I do look at it where it's like, if it was a female, right? Still a female, and like, this is the actress we hired, and their Twitter was like filled with, you know, I don't want to say like conservative stuff, but, you know, basically just leaning more towards the right. And that's what and it's like very clear if you look at their Twitter and their profile, like, oh, they're definitely conservative, you know, like, you kind of know which side they're leaning on. They're not hiding that. Would they be putting that out there, you know, be like, here's who we hired, go follow them or whatever? Because that's the thing, is like, are you sending a message just indirectly? And I'm trying not to be naive towards this, because I do see where people are coming from. But I'm also trying not to jump the shark. You know, I'm not trying to. It's because, dude, if I become fully convinced, then we know the tipping point has occurred. Like, I mean, truly, undoubtedly, like, holy shit, it happened. We've tipped over, you know? And that's why I'm just, I don't know. Sometimes I start to question, like, am I in, I don't know, am I in some deep level of denial myself? I hope not. But I guess it's because if the things that people are saying turn out to be true, then surely we will see it very clearly. You know what I mean? Like, we will see it clear as day, and it will be undeniable. Omen86, you're saying a buddy of mine calls Miles Morales DEI and refuses to play Spider-Man. To an extent, it's true, but the thing is, I really like Miles. He's a W to me. Yeah, that's the thing, too, is, like, I like Miles as a character as well. I actually really enjoyed him in his own game and in Spider-Man 2. But that's when, you know, when we see something like Spider-Man 2, one of the things that I saw people latch onto is they're like, bro, Insomniac confirmed, like, he's Spider-Man now. Like, they replaced Peter, and he's Spider-Man now. And that's where I think people, again, it elicits a really intense reaction where it's like, no. Like, you can't do that. Like, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Like, yes, Miles Morales can be Spider-Man too, but he can't replace Peter Parker like that. And I don't know. I mean, I guess the reason why it's like, I don't know that I'm willing to get all up in arms about that. Well, because one, Miles is a cool character. I like him. And I don't mind the idea of, like, seeing more of him. But I also kind of think to myself, like, we also don't know the plan here. Like, there's this kind of insinuation that, well, I guess Peter's done. We're not going to see him in the third game. He's not going to be relevant. We're not going to play as him again. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Peter Parker's going to play a massive role in Spider-Man 3. Like, I'm pretty sure the whole thing they're trying to set up is like, oh, yeah, Miles, it's all you now, bro. And then Miles is immediately going to get in over his head. And then Peter's going to have no choice but to come back in and be, you know, be part of the game again. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's where I'm being naive, where it's like, you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. You need to stop giving them the benefit of the doubt and let them prove it. But I don't know. It's tough because it's like, it's all a matter of good faith versus bad faith. And that's so hard to decipher anymore. Like, should I have good faith? Should I have bad faith? I will say, some of the stuff that Sony has done up until this point, you know, I'm not trying to hate on Sony, because I feel like sometimes people, they immediately assume that if I'm critical towards things that Sony is doing, they take it as like I'm jumping on the hate bandwagon. Like, yeah, fuck Sony, I hate them now. They're the worst. No, it's not that. But it's just like, there are certain things that they've done and that they're doing that, if you think about it, like, I guess this whole tangent of mine kind of started with what Hicksock said, where he's like, bro, let's face it, it's woke executives. It's people who have these mentalities, who see the world this way, and they're in charge, and they're the ones making decisions. And that's, I think it sucks. Like, I think that it sucks today. People who are meant to be storytellers, people who are meant to craft, like, I don't want to just say products, because it makes it sound so sterile, but they're meant to serve. Let's face it. Like, you're meant to serve an audience. You're meant to serve them, not in the sense that, like, you're a slave to the audience. No. Like, express yourself. But it's turned into a fucking narcissistic shit show, is what's driving me nuts. People who are put in these positions where they can't look past themselves. It's like, it's about me, me, me. And I need everybody around me to be like me and to think like me. And if anybody tries to challenge me, well, they're fucking going to be out of here. We're not even going to listen, because they're just this, and that. And that's, you know, that's not literally everywhere in the industry, but it is there. And you can see it. And there's like this fear. This is why people are, as I say, jumping the shark, because they're like, It's growing. It's happening more and more. And it does happen on both sides. And it's fucking annoying because it's like, where is the. Like, I feel like when people do that, they're basically like, I'm going to close my mind now. No more growth. None of that. I'm just going to close it. I'm going to close shop and I'm just going to shut my brain off. And it's just easier to just point at that thing because look at it. I don't like it. And I get it. I get it. Believe me, I'm like that too. I really am. And I think that's like a natural default. I think maybe, I don't know, that's maybe part of the human condition where it's like, dude, I'm like that too. Like when I see shit that I'm just like, even if it just doesn't look quite right to me, I'm like, nah. You know, that's stupid. I don't like that. I don't know. It's all a matter of, I guess, where you stand, you know, what you believe and where you feel like you should, I guess, how far you should be willing to go to give something that good faith, you know. Perfect Image, you're saying wokeness always has been here since Shakespeare. Well, technically, yeah. I mean, there's always been a push and a pull. And I don't know, as I get older, man, I'm just kind of beginning to realize that it will never end. It will never end. And all people can really do is just, you know, for the time they're given and the positions that they're put in, you got to just hope that the people that are given power, that they understand that you can't go all in. You just can't. You can't go all in because when you go all in, you're closing doors, you're closing windows. You're no longer, you know, you are just now seeing things in a tunnel. And I don't think that's good, but I think people also need to be careful. Like you can't also just be open to everything. Omen86 says, I do feel we're at a crossroads with woke stuff. Money beats principles. Big players lost a lot of money. I can't imagine this will last. Patience. Yeah. That's why I kind of mentioned, Omen, earlier, how like, I wish I could find the tweet, but I saw it a couple days ago where like, I think it was Disney. I don't know if it was Disney or another really big entity in the media, but they were basically saying how they're going to start really trying to find ways to not, like, basically to not piss off the internet and not piss off these groups of people that have large followings now, that have massive influence. It is Disney. Yeah. Okay. And it's crazy because people are getting really upset about that now because they're like, bro, you're like, now you're just going to pander. Like, let's face it. A lot of the people that they're referring to, with this influence and that create this kind of mass mob of hate, a lot of people label them as they're the sexist ones. Like, they are the homophobic ones. Like, they are the racist ones. And I do think these terms are thrown around too much. And I don't know, man. I struggle with this because I've listened to some of these people, man. And on one hand, there are points that they make where I'm like, yes, like, I think you're completely right. But then on the other hand, there's some things that I feel like, okay, I think you lost me here a little bit, because it's like, why is that a big deal now? But that's what I kind of noticed, is that there's not enough room on either side anymore for that layer of nuance, where it's like the message has to be crystal clear and concise, you know, where it's like, we're either going back, and to be clear and to be fair, the message that we got, a big message that a lot of these people are pushing that I am in agreement with, is like, when we look back at the stuff that we considered great and stuff that's considered timeless, like, there was inclusivity. Like there was all of this stuff that people are claiming they're pushing for now. But I mean, it seems to me, and this is the most comical shit, and this is where it goes to show, like, there's no way. Please don't tell me this is what we've been reduced to. Is like the common theme with all of this older stuff that people are like, we got to go back to this, man. This was peak. Like, this was good. This was everything. Everybody, like, every part of it was fucking cool. Every character was cool. All, you know, whether they were a villain, whether they were a hero, whether they were female, whether they were male, whatever race that didn't matter. Like, that shit didn't matter. The cool factor is what mattered. And when I say cool, I want to make it clear. Like, I know it's maybe not the best term to use, but they were genuinely compelling fucking characters. That's the point. They were genuinely compelling. Keyword being genuinely. And that again, that's for male, female, white, black, gay, not gay. Does it, you know, hero, villain? It didn't matter. So, like, if they were genuinely written and they were genuinely compelling and they were genuinely interesting, that's what made them memorable. And when that was the focus for all the characters, right? The focus wasn't, you know, what kind of political agenda could this one character push? Like, no, that's what kind of activism can we shove into this fucking character? It wasn't about that. It was about making them interesting. And that is the one thing that I will say that seemingly has, like, we are losing that. That is the one thing we are losing. And we are losing that because I hate to say it, but, like, yeah, man, you are getting I know I sound like an asshole, but I am only human. We are getting these fucking losers, bro, that, like, they think they know shit. Like, they think they know shit, and they think that they have this greater understanding that nobody else gets. And they're like, yeah, I'm gonna project that onto this character. And they'll all see. And it's like, see what? That you're a bad writer? That you don't actually have much life experience and have experienced very little adversity and don't actually know what makes character? What builds character? That's what you want to show us? And that's where it's just like, I think a lot of these companies, man, are getting a rude awakening where it's like, these are the people you hired. I don't know why, but you did. Gavin, you're saying, do people think actors and writers were apolitical before Twitter? The Disney family have personal reasons for pushing certain topics, and executives comply. Yeah, I would have to look deeper into that. But yeah, you're right. That's where, like, I think that's where my biggest fear lies, is that there's kind of this, and I've been hesitant to look too deeply into it, but people talk about, like, BlackRock and whatnot, and these companies that have just mass influence on all other companies. And it all comes down to the same thing about money and power. And where it's like, listen, we're at the top of the food chain here. You're going to listen to what we say. If we say this is where our ideals lie, you comply. And you do it, because if you don't, you're going to lose funding. You're going to get left behind, whatever. You're not going to grow. You're going to shit. You're going to have a bad time on the stock market, the whole thing. And to me, that's what's concerning, because it's like, that should not be what dictates art. But Omen, you're saying, shout out to Bloober Team for surprising us all. Yeah, I mean, I'm still seeing people, again, man, it's unfortunate. Like, I still see some people kind of shitting on this game for reasons that I feel like, I don't know, man, it's concerning to me. It is genuinely concerning to me, where, again, man, people I think they're freaking me out a little bit, man. Where I don't know how far you guys have gotten in the game, but like in Silent Hill 2, you know, the character of Angela, and like, look, man, what's concerned, like, this is gonna be this is a slight spoiler, all right, but keep in mind Silent Hill 2 it's a game from 2001, so it's a slight spoiler. Yeah, that's what I mean, man. It's like, if you, I know I'm not even gonna tell you the spoiler. I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna tell you spoiler. I'm not doing it. But I'll just say that it is deeply unsettling to me that some people don't. You don't have to mute me. I'm not going to spoil it, but because there's one thing that I think everybody does know going into Silent Hill is that it becomes very clear right from the onset that people who are attracted to this town, like they're called into Silent Hill, like they just make their way to Silent Hill, it's because something ain't quite right. You know, I think that's pretty obvious. Something is not quite right. There's a problem with these people. There's something very wrong. And when you figure out, like when you learn about the character of Angela, she's like she's really like a 17, 18 or 19-year-old girl. When you find out, like, oh shit, you know, again, I'm not going into it, but when you find that out, and then you see people and they're focused on how she looks physically, it is deeply unsettling because you can tell these people they haven't played the game. They're not going to play the game. They don't know the story. They don't actually know what they're looking at. And something tells me if they knew, oh, you would not be saying this because it's deeply disturbing. You know? And it's that's the thing too, is like, hold on. What's deeply disturbing to me is like, another thing that I think people with Silent Hill 2 are just totally fucking up. That's what I mean. You're saying some people become so radicalized. That's the concern, man. Is like, once you get radicalized and once you start looking at everything through that lens, you become kind of nuts. It's like, bro, this is like a 17-year-old girl, first of all, or like I don't know if she's 17 or 19, but she's young. And if you like your first interaction with this character, like something just isn't right. Like there's something deeply unsettling. You're like, you okay? You know? And that's part of it's the intrigue where it's like, as you progress through the game, you're going to learn what's going on with this character, you know, and why they're here too. And it's so fucking annoying. Like, honestly, where it's like, you get these radicalized people who are like, they made her ugly. They made woman ugly. And it's like, dude, first off, they said that they wanted to make the characters in Silent Hill 2 Remake closer to the actual concept art. The concept art that Team Silent drew for the original game, they wanted to try to make these characters look more accurate to that concept art. If you look at the concept art and you look at the character of Angela in this game, you can I think very clearly see like where they kind of were like, okay. Because I'm going to be honest, man. I'm looking at this concept art. The character of Angela, not the prettiest female I've ever seen. It's just a piece of concept art, but this is what they drew. And I'm like, okay, then make that. Then make something very close to that, so you're being as accurate to what the original intent was and what the creators made. And that's why I think it's so weird where it's like people are freaking out about this because she looks less like the rendition from the actual Silent Hill 1 or Silent Hill 2 game that came out. And I get it. Like, if you look at the character in the game of Silent Hill 2 and then you look at the new rendition definitely looks a lot different. But again, man, it's just you're losing the forest for the trees here. I feel like you're losing the forest for the trees. But something else I wanted to mention too, and this one got me. This one, I gotta tell you this one sent me, bro. Where I'm like, this is why. This is why I can't fucking listen to these people out here anymore. In the game, at some point, again, there's no spoilers, and this is not a spoiler. At some point in the game, as you're going through the town of Silent Hill, you're in a strip club. And in this strip club, there are fluorescent lights or whatever. And one of them is like a sign. And it's of a woman kind of like laying down a little bit. And it's supposed to be somewhat suggestive. It's like a fluorescent light. And her belly, they made her belly a little bit big. So she either is pregnant or she's just a little bit big. And I saw people, the neon signs, sorry, not fluorescent, the neon signs. And people took this and they started running around with it on Twitter where they're like, wow, look at what they did. DEI, feminism strikes again. Look at the way they made her body look in this neon light. And what just really blew my mind is people were pointing out like, bro, that's literally the same sign they used in the first game. She's like the woman in this neon sign is literally meant to look like that. You're saying show us? And this is why, man. This is why I lose my mind because it's like goddamn. I'm having trouble finding it now. Hold on. Hold on. Why is this so hard to... Did they tag it? No, they just did a screenshot. All right, hold on. I don't know why I'm having trouble like this was all over Twitter. Now I can't fucking find it. Hold on, I think I found it. Okay, all right. I found it. I'm going to see if I can save these images. Let me see. Fucking hey, man. It's not letting me. I'm getting annoyed. All right, I'm just going to see if I can... I don't use Instagram, but this is where I found it. I'm going to see if I can just pull it up directly. All right, so I have no idea. I have no idea who this account is, but this is the one in the remake, okay? And this is the original. It's like basically exactly the same. But that's what I mean, man. Like, let me get this off now. Oh my god. You're saying if you saw that in an actual strip club, you'd think, what the F? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, I don't understand. I don't know that that's the best sign you should use for a strip club. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know that that's the best sign you should use for a strip club when you consider, you know, like what, I don't know what you're like, again, people are suggesting like, oh, she's pregnant or whatever. And I don't think there's any problem with it. I'm just saying it's like, it's funny to me that they will try to do anything. They'll try to do anything to convince you, like, see, they hate you and they want to destroy your games. And it's like, this was exactly how it looked in the original, man. So basically what you're saying is you have a problem with the original and you have a problem with what the original developers chose. And that's where, again, that's the extremist mentality. Oh, I mean, you're saying Silent Hill 2 user score on Metacritic is 93. Bloober did it. I mean, I've been playing it, dude. It's amazing. Pregnant strippers is pretty canon to real life. I mean, even if she's not pregnant, it's like, who, like, what the fuck, you know? I think what's just what's upsetting me the most is that, like, why is this what people are focused on, bro? And I know I'm not helping the situation. I know that. I know I'm not helping it where I'm like pointing it out. But it's like, guys, this game has so much to offer and is doing so many things amazingly well. And it's like, who the fuck? I just feel like that says something about a person where it's like, look at what they did. Like, they're looking through everything through those goggles, you know? Whereas you're becoming like overly hypercritical of everything. Like, just learn to enjoy something for once, you know? It's okay, man. It's okay. Just enjoy it. Oh, when you're saying I want Konami back to the top, there's potential. I agree, bro. Next up, MGS remake, baby. MGS Delta. Ooh. I'm not going to lie. Silent Hill 2 just feels like the appetizer. Feels like the appetizer. See, Chris is taking a pretty positive approach right now. I don't know, man. I do apologize that I guess it makes sense. Maybe I shouldn't apologize. I know not everybody's a fan of talking about this type of stuff. I guess it makes sense. This is where the conversation would be led with, when talking about Concord. But I just have to, I'm probably going to wrap this stream up now because I realize I wanted to try to keep it just at 2 hours. I'm 2 hours and 15 minutes into it. But, I guess the last thing I'll say before wrapping it up is I just want to encourage people to just don't jump the gun. I totally respect that people, they have their beliefs and they have their convictions, as do I. And again, I totally respect that. I think we need that. But I just think it's very important to never let those beliefs and those convictions get in the way of being fair, of, and using critical thinking and analyzing things. And if that's the conclusion you come to after doing something like that, then so be it. But you just have to make sure to go through that process, I would say. 100% guaranteed someone's going to call boss woke. Oh, dude. Chris, bro, listen. If the everything is woke crowd, assume it. Listen, Konami said they didn't change anything. Okay? Konami said they didn't change anything in MGS3. And I believe you. And if it's true, when the game comes out, they didn't change anything. Dude, if I see that group of people in that crowd jumping on Metal Gear Solid 3, I'm going to fucking snap. You're actually going to see me snap. I'm going to snippity snap. Because, no. I don't want to see people coming out and being like, why is it so political? I want to see people coming out being like, why is there so much gay stuff? But then again, I don't want to see people coming out and be like, yo, why is Eva being sexualized? Because if they fucking say that, I'm going to snap. Because it's like, did you play the game? Did you play the game? Did you beat the game? Did you make it to the end of the game? No? Then shut your fucking mouth. Sorry. Boss threw Snake off a bridge. They went full DEI. But that's the beauty of it, you know? Like, that's the thing is, again, this was a game that was made in 2004, man, and the boss was an awesome character. The boss was better than Snake. Like, she beat the shit out of him, man. He couldn't, but there was always this kind of implication. Obviously, boss is a badass and could hold her own, obviously. But there was always this implication, like, there's this level of respect. Like, Snake didn't want to have to fight her, ever. You know? I'm not going to go any further, because I know some people haven't played it, so I'm not going to. Omen says, PS5 Pro less than a month away, greatness awaits. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm feeling physically ill right now. Sometimes when I'm physically unwell, my attitude is pretty shitty too. I'm not going to lie. So, but guys, that's going to wrap up today's stream. Omen, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Just do me a favor as you're heading out. Please hit that like button. My voice is really starting to go here, so I got to go drink some tea, man. Thank you to anybody who dropped a super chat today. We'll see what comes up in the coming week or so with more content, but appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the day. Hopefully I didn't put too much of a damper in it with my negativity or ranting, but we'll see what happens with Concord, if anything. Maybe this will be the last time we ever talk about it. Who knows? But all right, guys, that does it. Like I said, just hit the like button on your way out. Devil Shooter, shout out to you, buddy, for doing the timestamps. Really appreciate it. If you guys see him in the comments, show him some love. I know he really appreciates it. Give him some thanks. And that does it. So, yeah, I'm going to go rest my voice. And if you don't hear from me for another, like, a couple days, just know that's why. It's because I actually lost my voice or something. Because I can feel it, man. Who knows? Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be fine, but I can feel it coming. All right, that does it. I'll catch you all in the next one. So, until then, take care, everyone. Permanent hat pre-orders. We'll see, Omen. We'll see. I'll have to get working on that.